Health coaching is a phenomenal career opportunity that allows you to take some of those things that you learned the hard way, like getting through corporate burnout, to create and alchemize that pain into purpose, to do the work that you love and teach those lessons that you've learned and make an incredible, soul satisfying, fulfilling difference. And our special guest today, Ramona, is no exception. She is a classic example of that, of the things that she had learned in her many years as a pharmacist. And I can't wait for you to hear this amazing, beautiful soul and what she went through and how she's used that to align with how she truly wants to show up in this world. So, welcome, Ramona Hale.
Thank you, Dr. Shaunna. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, your story is really incredible. I'm going to let you tell it. I mean, the depths of stress were next level, and some of our audience can definitely imagine that, and they might not be able to imagine doing anything else. And so, tell us a little bit about what were you doing before you became a health coach, and what was your journey to become a health coach?
So, I'm a pharmacist by training. So I went through, undergraduate pharmacy school and became a pharmacist, but decided to not necessarily do a traditional pharmacy role. I went to a Fortune 500 consumer products company working in research and development, developing, drug products and over-the-counter products. And so I had a 14-year career doing product development at that company. And really for me, I hit a place where, I was overwhelmed and drowning
Yeah,
with stress, anxiety, overwhelm, all while also trying to be, the picture perfect social media mom with three beautiful daughters and wanting to show up and be with them and be the mom that I thought I should be. And I just really hit a place where things weren't working. And
yeah,
so that led me on a journey where I started to explore um, just, other approaches to health. And, in that journey is where I, discovered health coaching, and, decided that this was something that this was a way for me to help other women sort of, find their journey and to walk alongside them. So that's sort of how I ended up with health coaching.
I love that. Dive us deeper into um, what it felt like when you were at that level of stress, because as I've heard you share your story about that and what it really felt like to be drowning in stress. And I know that resonated really deeply with me, and I think it will for others because, like, there's busy moms and everybody's busy and everybody's stressed. But sometimes it's really next level, and sometimes it has to get to that break. It shouldn't have to, but sometimes it does, to like really force a change. It's really breaking down so that you can break through to that next level. Tell us a little bit about your experience there.
So for me, this was right after I had had my third daughter. And so I had a 6-month-old at home. It was during COVID, so this was 2020. I had just went back to corporate. I was working from home, which is such a blessing, but also comes with, some baggage of
Yeah,
just unlimited accessibility to your laptop and work.
yeah,
And so what I started to notice, and I think the point that I was like, wait a minute, something's really off here. This is not sustainable, was waking up multiple mornings during the week where I had no idea what day of the week it was. I didn't know if it was a work day or a weekend. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And it was very scary to have that happen, not just as a one-off, but sort
mhm,
of routinely,
yeah,
not just waking up in a place where you are like having to really get your brain to engage to say, okay, it's Monday morning and you need to get up and get dressed for work and the kids have school.
yeah,
So that for me, again, that was not just a one-off, but when it was recurring and becoming more of a pattern, um, I thought something's not right here. I have an imbalance, of stress and everything going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that level of I've been there, and partly because as a medical doctor for 25 years, I'll be on call. And so, did I just sleep for 15 minutes or was that 6 hours? What was that? And when you're so sleep deprived, you can get into REM really fast and you kind of don't know. And that really is like drowning. Like you don't know which way is up and like where am I? And you're in a fog and going through that. And so then when that happens and you're like that and you're like, okay, this is not normal that this is my normal. This is not normal that this is my routine. What did you do?
So it just so happened, and I guess, again, I think the universe sort of aligns things sometimes. And so at the same time that I was experiencing this, as part of my job, I was actually doing research on nutrition and botanicals to help support emotional health.
Yeah,
And so for me, I was also at the same time that I was experiencing such poor, mental, emotional health and stress. I was also learning about the role that nutrition and lifestyle, like exercise, and things other than pharmaceutical products like botanicals, how they can help support a healthy stress cycle,
yeah,
because stress in and of itself is not a bad thing.
yeah,
But that having the right, being stressed and being able to recover from stress, is what's really important. And so I was learning about all of that.
yeah,
And so that prompted me to reach out to a integrative health practitioner, and really start to get to the root cause of my stress.
yeah,
Um, and so I started to explore and become more aware of my sleep habits, my nutrition. I went through perspective for just a short period of time, making some changes to my diet just to help me reset and to understand the influence of certain things like dairy or gluten.
hmm
Um, they do impact, the neurotransmitters, and that all then support your brain health and emotional health and mental health. So, um, those are, that was hitting that rock bottom of realizing this is not normal, that, I wake up in the morning and don't know what day it is.
yeah.
Um, led me to sort of start down this journey of understanding the role that nutrition and diet play in our emotional health.
Yeah, I think your first instinct is and especially coming from pharmacy as a background, and it's really interesting to see how that's all interacted. And your first instinct, I think when you went to the doctor initially, I mean, like, hey, help me, and their response is, take this medication. And like deep down, that's not going to help you put right side up. Like that in itself is not going to address this stress and all of these things. And so you're like, not that there's not a place for that, but that was not going to get to root cause. So that already there. And I love how the whatever you want to call it, God, universe, whatever, lines things up. And wouldn't you know it, you're doing research on botanicals, and then that leads you to these integrative practitioners, and you dive deep, and then bringing your own R&D skills to the fore, and like using your body as its own living lab. And you're like, hey, when I do this, I do that, and like really making it practical. And so it's phenomenal how you took from like going like really it's wild, and to this incredible lifestyle that you now get to have with your family. And we're going to touch on that. Actually, let's go there right now. When you address the root cause of things and get to the root, then what are some of the bonus spin-off benefits that you see from that? What are some of the things that you've noticed, even with your own life?
I mean, I think what happens is you're, stuck in this cycle of overwhelm and stress and feeling like you're drowning, like I described it. And what I think can happen is as you start to focus on just the basics like sleep and nutrition, and you're seeing changes. And so, you might feel more energized. You might expect to lose a few pounds because maybe you're eating differently. But I think the one area that I would call bonus are
Mhm.
really, it's around relationships. And so I think sometimes you're not always aware of how the state that you're in, how much that influences those around you. And often
Mhm.
it's the people that you care about the most, your husband, your children, maybe it's your parents that are with you. And so I think for me, as I started on my own journey to make some of those changes and to, have better sleep and to prioritize getting the right amount of sleep, looking at my nutrition, seeing how that then allowed me to be more emotionally and mentally available for my children, to
Mhm.
show up for them in a way that was, um, made me feel fulfilled as a mother. um that really is kind of like the bonus and spillover, I think, of addressing your own health and those other areas, and helping, and it really becomes almost a motivation then too, sort of like a feedback loop of why I need to manage my stress. And it's
Yeah.
not just for me. Part of it is it's for me, but it's also because I care about these people that are in my lives, and I'm a better version of myself for them when I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. We were chatting at one point and I'm like, well, and how exactly do you do that? Like it all sounds good. And you talked about really replacing like unhealthy choices, doom scrolling, like, like you were, I remember you mentioning once that, at the end for the first step was awareness, like knowing that, my sleep matters. And if I don't get my sleep, everything falls apart. So first of all, if it doesn't matter, you're not going to prioritize it. But then if you prioritize it, okay, well, we gotta set some boundaries here. But then, sure, work stops, but then you're doom scrolling because that's the way to cope with stress because it's kind of what you've always done. And so it's just like food choices, lifestyle choices, different habits. It's kind of like swapping out little by little unhealthy choices with healthy choices. And then the ripple effect is incredible. And then once you start to observe it and you see that, and then the ripple effect, and it affects your health, your career, your kids, and so on and so on. And then when you see like the overhaul that these little simple root basic things like the things that spring forward, like you really can't contain it, like you want to share it with the world. So who is it that you're passionate about helping now, Ramona?
Yeah, so I'm passionate about helping, professional women that are juggling both a, career and motherhood, or even other family, responsibilities, that are struggling with the anxiety, the stress, the exhaustion that comes with juggling those things, and working with them, holding their hand when they, take this journey to find more calm, more energy, and more confidence so that they can thrive, in their career, but also, at home.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, what do you like best about being a health coach? Like, being able to take, that experience and bring it into this career as a health coach. What are your favorite parts of that? We often have people thinking about being a health coach, or you're like, is this journey really worth it? Tell us a little bit about what you love best about being a health coach.
So I think that, I just feel so fortunate and so blessed to be able to do something where, I'm able to be a part of someone else's journey.
Hmm.
Uh, and, I'm able to do something every day where, you know, I work in a space that I'm passionate about. That in and of itself. And if you've had other careers or you've spent any time doing something where the passion isn't there, you know what a blessing it is to actually get to spend your time doing something that you feel passionate, about. So that, I think, is definitely my number one, is just, being able to, um, help empower women to, go on this journey, find their and listen to their inner wisdom
Hmm.
to, find the balance that they need in their lives. I think secondarily, I really love the fact that being a health coach allows me to own my own time. After spending 14 plus years, in a corporate environment where Not only is your time theirs, but your goals, your objectives, everything that you do in that time that you're working is defined and dictated by them.
Yes.
And so to actually have freedom to, say, this is what I want to work on, and this is not what I want to work on, and this is the time that I'm going to spend doing something, is invaluable.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. When you it takes a journey to get, a practice up and running. When you came to us at the Health Professional Academy, what was something that you were struggling with your practice and where were you? What were you looking for? What were some of those things?
yeah, so when I joined the Health Professional Academy, I had just completed my IIN health coaching certification. And while I learned a ton about sort of what I call, the art or practice of coaching, um, you just hear a little bit about, well, if your program, you can design it to be like this or this. And, I knew that there was so much more that to creating your own business and to being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And um, again, if it's about reading a research paper, I had those skills, but marketing and knowing how to really get a business up and running, I didn't have those skills. So when I came to the Health Professional Academy, I was looking for everything. I was looking for help to define my niche, to take my story and turn it into something that could be a business.
Yeah.
And, the systems, what systems to use, how to design a program. I was really looking for all of that because
Yeah.
I'd never done it.
Yeah, awesome. And it's been such a pleasure having you for sure. And if you are somebody who is like, I kind of want to know what that blueprint is, I'm going to put a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach in the description so that you can have that. And we'll put some links to some other things at the end here if that is a journey that you are on. Tell us a little bit more, Ramona, about when you are working with people that are high achieving women and they're stressed. um, Really just kind of what is the biggest myth that people have? So I always like to like tap into somebody who's got experience up there in front from your perspective. What is the myth people have when they're looking to especially these women, high achieving women, and they're so stressed? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest I think we're told, and especially women in the corporate setting, right? We're coached to take your seat at the table. We're coached that you can do it all, and there are phenomenal women who are CEOs of companies and they have 5 kids at home too, and more power, to them. But I think there's also a lot of women, and maybe even those women, who are silently kind of struggling and
Mhm.
suffering the entire time.
Yeah.
And so I think the myth is that that's just par for the course. If you want this and you want this, and then you just are, yeah, you're supposed to be exhausted and filled with anxiety and stressed all the time.
Yeah. Everyone else is doing it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just, well, if she's doing it and she's got more kids than I do, you get into that comparison game. Um, and I think I think that leaves women feeling like they have no choice and very unempowered. And I think that that's what I love working with women to help them see that no, you do have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, you do have a choice and you don't have to resign yourself to, this place where you are just walking around filled with stress and anxiety and exhausted and missing out on the joy that you can experience with your career, maybe even,
Yeah.
or your family. So
Yeah, I think that is really important. And someone like yourself who was in pharmacy for years, myself who was a doctor for years, sometimes you're going, and sometimes maybe you're in a marriage for years, or maybe you've like always done it this way and everybody's always doing it this way, or maybe you've always lived in this place. And it's just the way that it's done, or like everybody else's needs come first. and you get so used to you not having a voice that you feel like you don't have a choice. And that's not true. And I remember feeling like as a doctor, like I'd spent so many years and so many dollars becoming, to get to that point. And it's like, I can't quit being a medical doctor to become a health coach, and I think you felt the same way, right? Like, like,
Yes. People
why would
thought
you?
I was Looney Tune, like you're gonna walk away from this career in the pharmaceutical industry. They thought, what's wrong with her?
Yeah, yeah. And so like just because one thing that you and I both went to IIN, and I remember Joshua told me something very powerful. He's the founder of IIN. And he's told me, we don't have to do anything. And so just because we can do something doesn't mean we have to. And so really what I see you doing, Ramona, is empowering people to, like, have a voice, have a choice, and then, and know that you get to have a preference. And just because you've always done it that way, just because someone expects you to do it that way, it doesn't have to be that way. And on the other side of that, making intentional choices in our habits, who we surround ourselves with, what we choose to do with our time, can have a profound effect on our lives and is very empowering. And it feels really good to take 100% responsibility for our lives. And then it just ripples out. And then, as you've shared before, when you do that for yourself, it ripples out. And one other thing I know that you've shared with me as something that you've learned is just, to trust your inner wisdom. And like really what you're doing when you're working with these women is like, you're not like telling them you got to do this, like make the choice. Like for us, leaving our traditional medical careers was the right choice. For other people, it's to stay in them. And so for you, it's what you do is you help them sift through and let them know, well, first of all, you have a choice and your choices matter. And let's see how we can do it to help you get to where you're going. And just really holding that safe space, loving space. It's just immense. And everybody wins on the other side of it. So like your family benefits from
Right.
this. Everybody's aligned, because if you're trying to be superwoman and there's nothing left of you, then everybody loses out in that situation eventually anyways. So if people are trying to get in touch with you, Ramona, and they're like, do that for me, help me do this, because this is something I've been putting everybody first, I put myself last, and I'm really struggling. I'm one of those people that's drowning in stress. How do I get out of this? Ramona, help me. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can reach me at my website. That's www.harvestingwellnesscoaching.com.
Awesome. So harvestingwellnesscoaching.com is how you can meet and reach out to Ramona. She's absolutely fabulous. And if you're looking at how do I get my practice set up, I'm going to put the 5 steps to creating a successful practice right here so that you can get your practice up and running as well. And with that, have a phenomenal week. And of course, be good for you.